Most people don't even remember what they talk about on podcasts anyway. I do podcasts and I completely forget the things that I say on it. You don't even need to, you're in the moment when you're doing it. That's all it is.
Yeah. But then it lives like this. I'm in the moment when I do it, and that's great. And then we'll post something like a clip, and I'm like, oh, the fuck was I talking about? And then I cringe and then realize that, I'm overthinking the whole thing.
Definitely.
But, I think I'm not the only overthinker out there. I get that a lot from other people, that you're constantly overthinking the situation instead of just being. And so, that's, I don't think we ever fix that. I think we... What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bonfire Talks with me, Mark Wahlberg. I'm here with my producer and friend, Kaylin Bean. Hello, Kaylin.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
I am well, buddy. I am well. I'm pretty excited. I'm going to Boston tomorrow.
What for?
So Goldie, a.k.a. Hot Stuff, it's really a great story, and I'm excited to share it because I want it to be sort of an inspiration to you guys listening, because I think there's a lot of power in this. So the long story is that Goldie retired from being a professional ballerina like 5 years ago. And she retired for a couple reasons, COVID, but ultimately that the whole professional ballet world is kind of toxic.
The culture.
If you've ever seen Black Swan or any of the cliches about it, it's kind of true.
I watched Black Swan once, and I thought it was really good and never wanted to watch it again.
Yeah, well, I can't watch it because it's just trigger central, because while it's a thriller and all those characters are dialed up, there's truth in all of them. And Goldie, from what you know of her, she's grown into this really emotionally intelligent human, which I'm really, really proud of. And so she started Lazy Ballerina Club, which I've mentioned, and you guys can follow. And she talks a lot about how to remember that you're a human first before you're a dancer. And while it's in the lane of ballet, and she's got a huge following in the ballet world, it translates across everything. It's like how much, it's the old adage of are we what we do or are we who we are? And so she's really been crunching that for 5 years now. And so now she's made peace with being a teacher and all that means, both positive and negative, because in the ballet world is once you become a teacher, it's like, you gave up on being a ballerina kind of thing. But she's really enjoyed being that experience, a healthy ballet teacher to these young ballet dancers. And now, out of the blue, she auditioned for a Nutcracker with a professional company in Boston. It's a small company, but still. And they hired her. And so she's dancing again after 5 years of laying off. And here's what I think is really valuable, you guys, is that she reframed the whole thing, because up till this, you audition for a company or a gig in hopes that you get a contract, and it's, you're kind of doing it hoping that you get recognized and then get hired or a contract to, all these things you want. And so she has reframed it in that she realizes now, several years later, that she loves being a dancer, like that part of it, which gets lost in the shuffle of the business. And so she's reclaimed it. So she started taking class, and then she said, I'll go to this audition just for fun. And everybody else in the audition is like, this matters. But for her, it didn't matter at all.
Right.
And, of course, they hired her. And now she's doing a Nutcracker, 17 performances of Nutcracker. And she's not even dancing like roles that would be at the level that she would normally do. And that doesn't matter because she doesn't care. She's doing it, and this is the thing, you guys. She's doing it simply for the joy of what she's trained her whole life to do, but in a different context.
Mind frame?
Yeah, mind frame and context. So while she's doing her stuff, she's performing and doing everything and going for it without feeling like it's being judged or that she's going to risk something. So she's just doing it for the love of what she does, like what her passion is, which I think is the charge for us, is that you really got to look at what are the things that turn you on and who are you doing it for and why, right? And it made me really look at me and say, you know, what is it about my career and my life that I love, as opposed to what am I doing for, you know, mercenary reasons? And so it made me look at the fact that, like, on TV shows, and I just did and I'm kind of sidebarring here, but I just did a corporate, like some corporate organizational meeting that I hosted. But what I got in touch with was, there are things that I love about working, and they're not fame and money. It's not that. Mm-hmm. It's not about that. It's connection to an audience, making a difference to an audience, which sounds so lofty, but
you're in kind of a bit of a different position too, because you're not just like an actor that's playing to a camera. You're actually establishing relationships with real people who have real problems that you're really getting to know, and you're really trying to figure something out about them. You're not just, oh, I'm doing this in front of a camera, and tomorrow I'm going to be a different character.
And yet, the field in which that authentic relationship is happening is an inauthentic world.
Yeah.
Like, reality TV is messy and kind of bullshit in so many ways. I mean, I love it. It's entertaining. But the fact that I do it the way I like to do it, which is to actually buy what I'm selling and make a connection with people, and the response I get is that there's a hunger for that.
Well, I think the response is in relation to the fact that an audience can recognize that, whereas a reality show host, you know, they just come in at the end and they pick, okay, you pick. Whereas you and your show, you really establish a relationship with these people, and you do that, like, you know, on the set and stuff too. Like, well, you don't just
right.
Come
the
in
line
for
is
a
blurry.
Day. Yeah, you don't just come in for a day
No.
and like hit your lines and then leave. You're around and you're talking to these people,
and it lives like this, Kaylin, which is kind of trippy, and it's one of the greatest joys of my life, is that I'll go and do the show, and we'll do a bonfire, and that's the content of the show, but I'm doing it from a place that I don't even realize there are cameras. Like, I'm really in a conversation, like deep in it. And then I walk off set, and we've just laid down what will be TV and people make money on. And then PAs come up to me and go, oh man, what you said really mattered. And then we get into this conversation. So that bonfire conversation then continues all the way back to my dressing room with just random people I'm working with, because there's a hunger. And so I've tried to make peace with the fact that it's an investment I make, but I don't know any other way of doing it. And what Goldie's experience has brought in front of my eyes is, I've had to ask myself, why do I do what I do? And part of it is, I got to make money.
Sure. And
I know how. But the truth is, the joy part, like what Goldie's experience, is that connection. So I just was in Phoenix, and I did an awards dinner for, are you ready? Mm-hmm. The American Concrete Pavement Association.
Oh, it's the first time I'm hearing of such an association.
You know, it's not something that we chat about quite a bit.
We don't think about that.
Nor do we hear that on the podcast circuit too often. But here's what it was for me. So it's just an awards dinner. They've done it every year. They've had different hosts. They've tried it without hosts. And I came in to do it. And it was a little bit squirrely in that the staging and flow of how it was going to go wasn't so locked down. So I immediately jumped into things I know. So while I'm hosting the show, I'm like going, you know, to the photographer, maybe right here, and to the people who are winning the awards, stand here. And I was like running it. But what it was for me was, I was able to really get into meeting all of these people that I would never meet, who have a job that we take for granted. That's ironic. Granted. They do concrete pavement. But then I started to deep dive into that a little bit, of how important what they do is. Like, as you go through your day, you'll now notice how much of your life exists on concrete pavement, right? And I thought to myself, here are these people whose lives and passion are doing concrete pavement, which you and I would go, whatever, especially in show business, like, it doesn't even exist. But they're passionate about it. And for me, it was easy to then also be passionate about that. And I said to them, I said, when I do my job well, I might make a difference in people's lives for an hour, maybe a little longer. And what they do, because it's concrete, both literally and figuratively, lasts well beyond their lifetime. And it's literally the fabric that holds a lot of society together, like physically hold it together.
Yeah.
And so what was natural for me and not natural for other hosts in my position is to really kind of celebrate that these awards that they're getting, that I could phone in and just read the prompter and, do the things. I was like going, wow, this is really powerful what they're doing. And that was appreciated and felt. So there was a connection happening. And now it looks like I'm probably going to do like a workshop with some of their people about how to present and how to make that connection, which is something I've kind of had to reverse engineer and figure out what is it that I do that works and how can I teach people to do it. So that's really exciting. The point I'm getting to is that I think it's important for us to slow the roll in our daily activity and connect with the part of that daily activity that's authentic and connected to passion, care, connection to the people that it affects, even when it looks like it doesn't matter. Even if we're talking about getting an award for successfully completing a runway at an airport, but when you get past the widget of it, that it's concrete and you can't relate, but to the purposeful work of people whose lives depend on it and lives are in danger in the process of doing it, I was really moved by it. And I said it to them, and I think it mattered. I said, look, I'm really just kind of humbled by what you guys do in your life, right? And so it was a great experience for me. I felt really of service. And then that brought up this feeling because, I got a lot of free time right now, and you start to let your, what they say in AA, stinking thinking, like run how you feel about yourself. And what I was realizing is I'm so much happier. I think I've said this so many times on this show, but I'm so much happier when life presents opportunity for me to be out of the way of myself and be of service to something else that has nothing to do with me. So the best version of me is when I can be completely of service to something other than my own agenda. And the relief of that felt great. It just felt great to spend a night going, all I did was something that was like a no-brainer for me. I get reading a prompter and making jokes here and there and meeting new people is just, I don't even think about it. But it seemed to matter, and more importantly, it seemed to relieve stress and anxiety and self-talk and is really beneficial. So it's like, once again, when you aren't feeling yourself and you're not connected to yourself and you're full of self-doubt and full of concerns about the world, the best antidote to that feeling is to get the fuck out of your own way and find a way to be of service to somebody else who needs you. And then the best version of you shows up, right? And so I really enjoyed that experience and I had forgotten.
Yeah.
And now life is presenting it all over the place because I've got a family member who's had a health crisis, so I've been at the hospital a lot, and the same sort of thing. So instead of going, pay a visit to support them because they then look at you as, look what a good guy you are, I actually was at the hospital really sitting with his family member and getting out of my own thought and how can I help her recover? Like, how can I, in some small way, help her find her way out of this fucking crisis? And while I know it made a difference for her, it made a bigger difference for me, I think. And then, have you noticed that, like, in December, it seems like in December, a lot of crises happen.
Yeah, the year just saves it all for the end for you, doesn't it?
And then things start to just crumble around. And I'm seeing it in several areas of my life where people are going through really, really hard stuff in December. And that can be a little bit scary. And it, you know, and then you add the holidays and all that stuff to it. But anyway, so now I've been talking to Goldie a lot because she's having a blast.
Good.
She's really, like I said, she's reframed it so she's able to enjoy the entire experience. And the people to her right and her left are hoping they get a contract at Boston Ballet because of this or whatever. And she's like, I don't fucking care. I'm just dancing and I'm wearing the costume and my students are coming and that's fun for them. And I'm just enjoying the ride. And I was like, wow, I can't remember the last time I felt that way. So it was a great reminder. Now, back to the coaching you've given me in the past. I'm now going to get on a plane tomorrow and land at Boston Logan Airport, home of Mark Wahlberg and all his fans, so that I'll be in a place where every time I put a credit card down, I'm going to get that.
Yeah,
you're not Mark Wahlberg, you know. And when will that become not a thing for me? I don't think until I have him on this podcast that's going to get complete. So that's probably not going to ever get complete. But I'm like preparing myself to do what we talked about, which is every time that shows up, laugh at that, and then do what Goldie does is in those moments, remind yourself of your self-worth. Like, yeah, okay, this may be showing up and it may make you feel bad, but that's not who you are. And you get to know, and nobody else needs to know who you are and what your value is. As I pay for every meal, and they go, "Wow, you got the same name as that guy. Are you related?" And I'm like, "Yeah, we have the same fucking name." So I'm thanks to you, I'm actually looking forward to going as opposed to going. This is gonna suck.
Glad I could help.
Yeah, you know. See, doesn't it feel good to be of service?
Yeah.
So. We're going to do that. I'm going to see 2 shows. I'm going to hang out with her and her boyfriend, who I really, really like. And for Robbie and I, we laugh at it that, you know, all the stress of the world goes away when we're in a hotel so we can kind of date. So I'm excited about that. And I'm excited at the fact that the hotel I've chosen has happy hour with $1 a shuck oysters.
Oh, now you're talking.
Pretty fucking psyched about that. But you know, one of the things I've really been enjoying, you know, Morgan, my son, and his wife Carissa, my daughter-in-law, have moved back to California recently, and so we've been hanging out. And I just am always amazed at looking at my kids and seeing how things have shifted from, and you're a young parent, so maybe this will land for you, from the guy who knows everything and is teaching you everything, to them actualizing things Robbie and I have taught, that I'm now the student of them, right?
I got a while before that's me.
Yeah, although if I'd have known this existed when the kids were younger, I might have seen more opportunities in their childlike behavior to learn. But it's really great to watch them navigate life without my help, ask for help when they need it, but rarely, and then you know, just stay out of the way and watch them be adults, and then, you know, just enjoy that. So I've been having a good time. First of all, it's great having a best friend back. Morgan and I have been having a great time. We're going to go see the Grateful Dead again in March. You're welcome to come.
Vegas?
Pardon me?
Vegas?
Vegas, Sphere, and potentially shrooms.
Okay. Well, now I'm in.
Because I've been called out for being a pussy. And so... I don't know if there's, and DeCarlo's on board.
Oh, wow.
So all of my enablers are going to go.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm pretty
Just wait till
about
I
that.
get there.
Pardon me?
Just wait till I get there.
Yeah. See? Yeah. And then that's a whole thing of I'll just do shit to make sure you guys all like me and approve and then panic. So that we can deal with that in March, but that's happening. But yeah, so we're getting our act together to go. I am excited to visit cold weather and Christmas and all of that, and watch Goldie do what she's trained her whole life to do, but in a different, you know. Here's where it's different: is that every time that we used to go see Goldie when she was dancing with the company, it's hard, and this kind of lives in the same way you deal with Little League with your kids if they're playing travel ball and stuff like that. Is that you're watching and kind of comparing and despairing to like she's dancing this role, but look at that other girl is doing this, and is the artistic director seeing her, and is she going to get promoted, and is the contract going to happen, and all these concerns for her career. But there's no career at stake here. You know, she's carved out a great space and she's doing great. So it's really going to be the first time I get to go and watch her dance and just kind of love that she's great at it and enjoy watching your kid do something for only the reason of that she loves it. And I didn't think that was ever going to happen again.
Well, that's great.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm pretty psyched about that. And I think that will overshadow the constant drone of you're not the real person, which Boston provides for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. I connect with New York. I connect with a lot of cities. I travel a lot. And for some reason, Boston, I feel like I'm on enemy territory, but that's all just made up in my head. I also got some really great comments from some fans from countries I didn't even know I was in.
Huh?
And I got 3 requests to officiate weddings.
Nice.
Yeah, which I think is so funny that I host Temptation Island, which is basically the demise of a relationship all the time. And
well, we've
somehow,
talked to people on the show where it's like the beginning of Caitlin Tufts, right?
Yes.
That was, if anything, but I mean, the demise of that one, but then she found her true love afterwards.
And by the way, that's a really good point, because demise is a construct, because it's not demise, it's growth. It's not demise. It may be the end of this specific relationship, but it is only because it makes space for the next one to be something different, which we've talked about a lot, and it happens so often. And I think that's why I'm getting these requests to officiate weddings and stuff, because, I keep thinking this is this train wreck of a show that I'm doing the best I can to manage. But in fact, the stuff we're talking about does ring through, that there's an appetite for that, and everybody wants to find that forever love, and they want to find that healthy relationship, and they want to, avenge the mistakes of the past, and somehow that's coming through in this crazy, ride of a TV show that I'm not supposed to be talking about. But fuck it. Yeah, so, any advice from you about how to navigate gracefully being in Boston?
I've never been to Boston, so I've never hung out with the crowds or anything like that. I just think of it like a vacation. Enjoy it. Like you said, you're not going to be pressured to do anything. You're not going to be pressured to watch Goldie and think, maybe
I'm not making a
get
personal appearance.
Yeah. Just enjoy it. Treat it like a vacation. Yeah. And anytime someone makes a quip about Mark Wahlberg, laugh at it, make a joke about it.
That's really, really, really good advice that I've been practicing and getting better at. And then as soon as I feel really great, I see him playing golf on TV, and he's like a single-digit handicap, and I can't hit the ball.
Well, he had a golf course in his backyard.
There's that. There's that. And I'm on the wait list at the public municipal course, hoping to get out. But there's that. I just think it's so interesting how we as humans are constantly comparing to other people's success and then beating ourselves up for not being what we think we should be, instead of looking at all the things that we are and have accomplished, Yeah. And while it's really easy for me to be about you and remind you of you specifically, but more of a macro you, all the things that you're doing right and all the things that you've done that are great. But I think the key to being happier lives in self-talk, lives in reminding yourself of your value as opposed to waiting for others to tell you. So I just had this, I just did this gig, and so what's really kind of addicting is that you do the gig, you do what you do, you're there for the right reasons, and you're bringing your A game, and then people just fill you up. They just come up to you afterwards and go, "That was amazing. You were great, and we love you," and blah blah blah, and they want to take pictures and all that stuff, and that feels really, really, really great. And but that's outside stuff. So I mean, the key for me, and maybe what I'm, going to double down on to try to do better is I need to be the first one to say that. We need to be, you guys, friends of mine. We need to be our biggest cheerleader on our team instead of the false modesty of we suck until you tell me I don't. Because it's not real. That's kind of a bullshit. That's like fishing for, validation from other people. So anyway, I've been obviously having a lot of time to be in my head and think about stuff. So it's good to talk to you and get some of that out of my face, and then go home and have my post-show cringe, as I have nearly every episode. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, don't even worry about all that.
Pardon me?
Don't even worry about all that.
You're like the Yoda of this. Like I think if we were to, I think it would be cool if we could have like a machine that measures our heart rate while we're sitting here.
Yeah.
And I think I'm like 5 beats to your 1 on any given day.
Most people don't even remember what they talk about on podcasts anyway. I do podcasts and I completely forget the things that I say on it. You don't even need to, you're in the moment when you're doing it. That's all it is.
Yeah. But then it lives like this. I'm in the moment when I do it, and that's great. And then we'll post something like a clip, and I'm like, oh, the fuck was I talking about? And then I cringe, and then realize that, I'm overthinking the whole thing.
Definitely.
But, I think I'm not the only overthinker out there. I get that a lot from other people, that you're constantly overthinking the situation instead of just being. And so, that's, I don't think we ever fix that. I think we're
you have to take the same lessons that you're going to take out of going to Boston into podcasting. And that's just live in the moment,
right?
Be in the moment,
right?
Enjoy it. We're sitting here, we're doing a podcast for a living. We could be pouring concrete.
That's right.
And on a, July, it's middle of the day in the valley.
Yes, with 100 workers who could die if they step in the wrong area.
Yes.
Yeah. So I don't think anybody's going to die today with what we do.
No.
Let's hope not.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to have to deal with a little shade from Robbie, I think, because I travel all the time, and I go into this have you seen everybody talking about raw dogging flights?
Yes.
Yeah, so I'm a raw dogger. I just sit there.
Me too.
Not
for the whole flight, but I like to raw dog a flight or a car trip I can go for like an hour or two.
Without the radio on or anything.
Without anything, yeah.
Yeah, me too. And I don't even put, my headphones on, nothing. I just sit in the chair, and I actually kind of enjoy that shutdown. And I don't really care about, I don't really stress the packing and all that stuff because I do it so much, but Rob is different. So I had booked the flights, and I thought I had booked like a noon flight to get us in at 11 at night, and it would be pretty whatever. But in true me form, I don't remember it correctly, and I went to check in, and so we have an 8:20 flight tomorrow morning, which means we have to leave now.
Yeah.
And we're sitting in coach, which I have no problem with, and Robbie really doesn't have a problem with, but it's a little rough for her because every time I travel without her, I'm, getting picked up in a town car and riding first class, and I'm in the lounge and everything, and, when we're together, I'm like, we can split a Cinnabon, So, but she's gotten really good about traveling, and we're both psyched about going. And she's been great, man. She does the holidays well, and I don't do the holidays well. And so, and she's really, she's a former dancer, and so this is a big deal. And so it's fun to see her so pumped about going, and I think it's going to be really fun. I'm pretty psyched. We're going tomorrow, and we'll be there. And we'll see the show Friday and Saturday and maybe even Sunday, and then we come home Monday. And, there's no other agenda but hanging out. We'll see some family maybe, but we're not trying to sightsee or anything. So that'll be nice little break before everybody comes home and we get into full holiday mode.
Yeah. Well, speaking of holiday mode
Yes.
and parenting, I
Yes.
had a great experience with my daughters yesterday.
Please share.
I love movies. Movies and TV shows, it's like my passion. They're my favorite.
Right.
And I'm always thinking about, my daughters are 4 and 5. So I'm like, what are all these movies that I want to show them when they get older, And, they're young, so they haven't been able to appreciate movies very much.
Right.
But last night, and I tried this last year, didn't work. They weren't old enough. But yesterday, I was able to play for them my favorite Christmas movie that they're now super into, which is Elf.
I'm so glad you didn't say Die Hard.
No, that's tomorrow.
Well, Elf is genius, and they got it.
They got it. Yeah, they finally got it.
Just
And
old enough.
watching them get it and watching them get the jokes.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, are they still going to be too young for it? And, he gets out the elevator. Oh, I forgot to give you a hug. They started cracking up laughing.
Smiling's my favorite.
Yeah, smiling's my favorite. And they love all of those jokes in it. And it was one of those moments where I was like, yes, this is one of those.
I love that
I
for
can't
you.
wait to show them this movie. And I showed them and they love it.
That's great. That's really, really great. I love that movie. And I've seen it a million times, and there's a couple movies that show up and you just watch them. You can't not,
yeah.
and that's one of them for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've watched a bunch of stuff this week. I watched the documentary about yacht rock.
I've heard of it.
Pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Much thicker than I thought. That was interesting. And then I'm trying to think of have you seen Nobody Wants This?
I don't think I've heard of that.
It's the rabbi falls in love with a non-Jewish girl, and she's a podcaster, and it's Kristen Bell, and it's a huge hit. It was a huge hit. And we were at lunch the other day, and I'm sitting at a table with Robbie, and there's another few women sitting at a table, and that's the only people in the restaurant. And she's looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and it's really, really awkward.
Yeah.
And she's like, "Do I know you?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know about it. You look familiar to me too." And so we're doing that dance, and it turns out she's one of the stars of that show, and I couldn't deal. I fangirled all over that. Really, really good show. Anyway, I mean, this is my favorite time of year too. Is that it's both my favorite time of year and worst time of year because nothing's happening business-wise. There's nothing I need to do or can do now, right? Everybody shut down.
You can podcast.
I could podcast. So you find yourself, nesting a little bit, and there's, and the movies. So I'm just kind of just allowing myself to sit and enjoy it and watch movies and chill and, just kind of slow it down for a minute and realize that nothing needs to happen. They can't wait till January. And so that's fun. I'm enjoying that for the first time in years. I usually get pretty stressed around the holidays, but I'll save that for later conversation. But anyway, that's really all I got. I just, I think the takeaway that is worth paying attention to is the example that Goldie's giving me is that it's possible to take those things that actually give you joy, that maybe you've forgotten why you do them, and just step back and reframe them on your own terms so that you can really stay to the part that matters, which is that what you're doing is not who you are, who you're being is who you are, and you get to enjoy those things regardless of what other people are doing it for, regardless of, the people around you and what their experience is. And so watching her just reclaim a part of her life she's trained her whole life to be excellent at, and then had to give it up for her own health, and now having healed from that enough to be able to grab it back is pretty phenomenal. And so think about that a little bit. What actually are the things in your life that make you joyful and happy that for whatever reason you have lost touch with that part of it? It becomes, it's like you love baking and now you own a bake shop and now it's your job, and so you fucking hate the smell of baking pie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, what are those things that you have allowed to slip through your fingers that used to be really, really joyful because there was nothing at stake? When you realize that nothing is ever at stake, it allows you the possibility of really reclaiming it and having some fun, because we're all going to die soon. That's my holiday message. Have fun today, because we're all going to die soon. Anyway, I'll tell you more about it when I get back. And that's really anything else. Anything else from you? Okay.
Have a happy holidays.
Have
Merry
a happy
Christmas,
holidays, even when it seems impossible to do so.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to be good with what you give them. I'll save that for later. I want to talk about that later. Anyway, I'll talk to you soon, you guys. I appreciate you. Send me a comment if you feel like it. Have a great holiday. It's a great time to connect with family and love them and show them that you love them. But what I'm saying is, it's a great time for you to take a little moment and give yourself the gift of loving yourself. It's a little cheesy, but, I dig the cheese. So have a cheesy holiday.